I think the main thing is, and I'll try to keep this as simple as possible, is before you even think about technology, you need to frame your problems. You need to frame, what are we trying to solve and why are we trying to solve that? Really, before we talk about any tool. And you can apply this to any technology. This is not just learning technology. You could do this for apps on your phone. You can do this for AI stuff that's going on right now. It's really simple and saying, okay, so make this clear. What are the things that I need to solve, either in the immediate or in the long term? And then being really specific on what are the components you're looking for in a tool to help you solve those problems. Because it may not be that whatever solution you decide to go for can solve every single components of that big problem that you've got. So you can break that down and say, what are the key things here that I can see that a technology solution can enhance my work? I mean, the key word there is enhance. Is not to say how can it be replace me completely and I can go off and not do any of this. There's always going to be a section of needing a human to do stuff. But we can look at the columns of how can it enhance, and then of course you can also start to ask about what can I delegate to it. So there's all the background stuff that you can work on there as well. And then with that, you really want to also think about with your problem, then who are you serving with this problem? So who is that end audience? And sometimes that may be the immediate L&D team. That may be something you're using in-house across your team there. It may be something that you're giving to a portion of the organization or all of the organization. But just like when any kind of company is selling a product, you need to look at as you're building a product and your internal people, what we call your ideal customer. So who is your ideal customer in the organization? And then looking at that to say, are these decisions I'm making now going to serve the ideal customer profile in my organization? Is it going to hit all the notes that they want? So that's incredibly important, because if we're not focused on that, and some people might call that from a design perspective, user-centered design. So it's very similar to that, but we're thinking more of that from a, shall we say, kind of product enablement perspective to look at, is it going to serve those people specifically? There's another component in there, but my mind is leaving me right now. So if you can remind me, Gary, on my
Yeah,
actual
it
template,
was
then I can speak to it.
what are you solving, who are you serving, and what is the best tool for that job? So just bridging the
Oh
gap
yeah,
between the two, I
yeah.
suppose.
I pretty much supposed
Yeah.
connected those in there. So, but the main thing is always problem definition first, because if you're most people do it backwards. So they go, I'm going to buy a tool, and then they get a tool, and then they go, what do I do with this tool now? Like how do I use this tool? What problem is it actually solving? And what I find is not just in the L&D space, but in general, is that a lot of tools hit the graveyard purely
Yeah.
because they were just bought because someone said, oh, we need a tool to do X. And then they never found a use case for it. And it just sits around for 2 years because a 2 year contract's been signed. So, I mean, if you can be really clear on those components of the problem that you are solving, who you're serving, who is your ideal customer, and then looking at how is that tool going to actually support that. I mean, that simple framework, you can pretty quickly figure out, is this going to be the one for me or not? Definitely, if we look at kind of the pre investigation phase, which is basically you going out and Googling or using ChatGPT to say, I need a tool to do X. Can you give me a list of suppliers in my area for that? You can do a pre qualification just on those 3 points.